Buckle up, folks. This podcast is all about diving into the good, the bad, and the ugly of our bodily, spiritual, and mental experiences. If you are not prepared to challenge your assumptions, laugh at yourself, laugh at me, or maybe even shed a tear or two, then you might want to look elsewhere. But if you're ready to get real, get honest, and get a little weird, then welcome to the Just Chrissy podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy McCammon. Hello, friends. This is your host, Chrissy, of the Just Chrissy podcast and owner of Rooted in Wellness. The last 2 days have been pretty heavy-duty information. I think, maybe if you've never heard a lot of that information before, that you would want to go back, maybe re-listen to it. Make sure you're taking your notes and applying the things that you feel would be helpful for you. That's one of the things I love, is like just sharing the information, and then you get to decide what you want to do, what you can do, what you can afford to do. Since the last 2 days have been pretty heavy on the digestive system, I thought today I would do something that's a little more informational that I feel like maybe a lot of people are not aware of, and that is identifying real supplements from fake. If you have spent time with me at all, you know that I have this hard, fast rule. It's like, do not buy your supplements from any big box name store or online platform, because guess what? It is not regulated by the FDA. You heard me correctly. We purchase things, even when we go to the doctor, which, by the way, I am not a doctor. I cannot diagnose, treat, or prescribe anything. If you have issues with your medication, go to your personal care physician and speak to them about that. But we just trust that someone is regulating these things and making sure that they're safe. But that is not the case. Manufacturers, this is what the FDA says, manufacturers and distributors of dietary supplements and dietary ingredients are prohibited from marketing products that are adulterated or misbranded. So they tell them they're not allowed to do it. This means that these firms or these companies themselves are responsible for evaluating the safety and the labeling of their own products before marketing to ensure that they meet all the requirements of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act as amended by the DSHEA and FDA regulations. So the FDA does have the authority to take action against any adulterated or misbranded dietary supplement product after it reaches the market. So a while back, actually several years back now, there was a company that I worked with who was producing humic acid, which is your trace minerals, by the way, and I guess someone brought a lawsuit against them. Something happened. They must have tested the product, and here there were metals that were not acceptable according to the FDA. And so they did shut them down and made them stop selling that product. However, they had been in business for several years before that happened. So you do have to be very, very careful. Now, I do appreciate that the FDA is not controlling the supplement arena. However, that means that there's a huge weight on trusting people that create these products to be ethical and honest. Now, I don't know about you, but how many business owners do you know that are ethical and honest? And how do you know if you can trust them? Probably about 1/3 of products out there do not have what the manufacturers claim is in them. They are contaminated, or they are simply using false advertisement or making false claims. Although the FDA says they do not regulate nutritional supplements, they can actually regulate the facilities that they are made in. So are your products being produced in the United States? That's helpful to know, because there can be some regulation if it is. And then some products like castor oil or even frankincense are actually produced in another country. And if that product is coming from overseas, you really don't know what you're getting. So does the company manufacture in the U.S. or the country of origin? So if you're talking about like castor oil or frankincense, is that coming from a country that actually has those nuts or trees? So that's the first thing you want to question, to kind of like figure out whether this is a company you want to deal with or not. The other thing is it made in a facility that's regulated by the FDA? Because if they do not regulate the way the product is they do regulate the way the product is manufactured, but not what is in the product. And the rule is that products can't be shipped without a label on it. You could look for the GMP stamp on the bottle, Good Manufacturing Practices. This means they are testing, and the dosage and the ingredients listed on the bottle is what is actually in the bottle. And then for like sports supplements, they do have the NSF, and they are an independent third body company or agency who's certified for sports certification, and they verify that each batch of the dietary supplements it certifies that it doesn't have any unsafe levels of contaminants, prohibited substances, or masking agents, and what is on the label actually matches what is in the product. You want to make sure that there's no heavy metals like lead, mercury, cadmium, or arsenic. And then the next thing, testing the product after it's manufactured. There are companies that do have third-party testing, so you could check for that. Make sure the dosage is there. You can ask the company if they have a certificate of analysis. Some companies even post it on their websites. But beware of companies that will replace what should be magnesium or zinc with another. If you take magnesium or zinc, you know it's white and it's in a capsule usually. But they'll replace it with, say, baking powder. Now, baking powder won't hurt a person. However, there are people out there doing it, and the customer is none the wiser. So they actually have an ineffective product. And then when I say to them, "Oh, well, we should try magnesium," and the customer then says, "Oh, yeah, no, I tried that and it didn't work." Well, that could be why. If you're purchasing online, this is another safe fail that you could do. If you're purchasing online, don't purchase from, like, say, for instance, you're on Amazon, and say, we'll name the company Flour, and Flour produces this great supplement. You want to make sure that the seller of Flour supplements is Flour and not Joe Schmo, because the seller, there's a lot of people, or a lot of devious people out there that will give themselves fancy, cool sounding names, but they're out there counterfeiting the product. So when you're buying, make sure you're buying from the company that produces that product, not some third party. Because what can happen is a counterfeiter could purchase the products from Flour, the name brand company, at a reduced cost, say 50% off, because it's close to the expiration date. So they have this big sale, and then the individual that purchased that huge inventory restamps the date on the container, because you can wipe that off, and then sells as normal at full price. Companies, by law, cannot sell you an expired product. So a lot of these big manufacturers will have a sale to try and get rid of them when they're within like 6 months of that expiration date. Or they will purchase them at a discounted price and then refill the product with baking soda, relabel it, date it, and sell it. And if the other thing to look for too, if there's a glass vial or something like that, make sure that there's a shrink wrap on the lid. If it's a liquid tincture, and bottles have to have shrink wrap, or they have to have a seal on the inside. If that's not there, don't use it. And then some of these weasels will relabel over an old label. So you need to question everything. So who do you trust? Like, I just shared all this information with you, and now you know that it's not regulated. Also know that some of what you're buying off the shelf is often made by pharmaceutical companies who, if you trust them, great. And then like China and Asia. So like, who do you trust? Well, you trust your practitioner, because we work with companies that we have investigated, created relationships with, and we trust. And when you ask me about this product that you bought from so-and-so off of some big online platform, or you bought it at the big local box store because it was cheaper, quote unquote, I typically have no knowledge of that company. And I, or your practitioner, if I'm not your practitioner, somebody else is recommending certain products because we trust them. We have experience with them. We know maybe another practitioner that has experience with that company. Honestly, it's only fair it is truly only fair that you purchase your product from the person that is invested in your well-being. You can't call Walmart or Amazon and get them to do an intake on you and to spend hours researching your specific condition. And if you can't do that, then why are you giving them your money and trusting what is on their shelf? If it seems too good of a deal, then it is too good of a deal, most likely, because it is expensive to use real, like, my phone rang and it just knocked me off course here. If you're getting lab made ingredients, it's going to be cheaper, and it's not bioavailable in your body, so you'll probably defecate 90% of that product out. Your supplements should be real food, and if it's real food, it's going to cost more. It just is. You're going to pay more for it. Reputable and honestly, like quality products, quality care, quality ingredients, quality oversight, all of that costs money. And most of the reputable sellers don't sell on these platforms because the platforms take so much of their sales. I think it's like approximately 35%. They'd rather you go to their personal website. That's why I have my own website as a practitioner. Mine's chrisstan.gethealthy.store. It's in my description. By the way, I add things into these descriptions as I go. Like, I'll think of things later. I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell them about that. So make sure you look in the descriptions of the podcast. Anyway, in my store, you can use your FSA, your HSA. You can get free shipping. And I add products to my store that I trust. And if there's a product that you're looking for that's not in there, just reach out and I'll see if I can get it for you if it's a proven company. And then once your account is established, I'll give you call me, or message me. Like, if you go in there and you set up your account, and you have to have an account because some of the products you can't see if you don't have an account. So sign up for an account, get a hold of me. I'll go in and give you an ongoing 10% off to save you some money. And then you can go in and order and you'll save a little bit. Anyhow, I hope this has been helpful. So when I say, like, quit buying that there is a purpose behind why I say that. And then let's support those that really do strive to do all things in excellence. And not just take your hard-earned money, because these reputable companies, they do want what's best for you, and your practitioner does too, and I do too. That's why I do so much sharing of information, because I want you to have it. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have a great day.